Coming up on this week's CODE Bet Daily Weekly AFL Show. We've only got 7 games to talk about, but boy do we go on about them all. I'll tell you that much. There's a lot to dig into. Alex, what's your favourite game of the weekend?
I believe it's Saturday night in Darwin. The Suns taking on the Crows. Bring it on.
I'll see you in the NT. Leo, what's your favourite fantasy bet this week?
I'm looking at a Dacos brother to have a massive weekend racking up the ball.
Oh, I love that. All right, we've got player props, game picks, and best bets for every single game. Round 12 of the AFL. It's the CODE Bet Daily Weekly AFL Show. I have a whinge about Carlton. It's really good. Welcome to CODE Bet Daily Weekly AFL. That's right. I love the old Daily Weekly show.
Footy's back.
Footy is back. I'll tell you that much. It is round 12 of the AFL. We're finally into a bye round as well, which means we've actually only got 7 games to talk about today. But I am your host, Jaymz Clements. I'm the editor of a very good website. And a surprise twist, it's also called CODE Bet. You can find it at codebet.com.au. We're going to talk things, all things footy today. It's going to be awesome. I'm joined, as always, by one of the pontiffs of punting, the Junior Executive Vice President of Content Creation here at CODE Bet. It's Alex. What's going on, Alex?
Third show of the day, third wardrobe change of the day. Going good. Just ready for another week of footy. Although some of the games are just very tedious, shall we say.
Well, it's always not great when you've got first versus bottom at one point in like a 7-game round. You know?
Yeah, true.
It's like hard to drum up a bit of support for that. But we've also got our fantasy guru. That's right. It's the social guy. It's Leo. What's going on, Leo?
Hey, James. Hey, Alex. I'm going well. How are you guys going?
Chilling, not illin' over here. I'll say that much because footy's back. Let's go. Footy's back. We're basically halfway through the season. We are. That's it. 12 rounds. Oh, now I'm just sad. Hang on.
Footy's going to be over soon.
Footy's on its way out. This is CODE Bet Daily Weekly, the AFL show. So it says it on the tin. This is the AFL show. We're going to break down every single game with its player props, game picks, and best bets. Every single game of round 12. But before we do that, how'd we go in round 11?
Not great.
Not good.
Just saying, your man Jim is back in the hunt. I had 5 last week in an absolute horror show of tipping, right?
Tough round to tip, yeah.
Upsets everywhere. But Alex and I did at least nail the Fremantle pick last week.
Yep.
And did pick Adelaide in Adelaide, which was probably my favourite of the weekend.
I can't believe I tipped against the Swans still. Like, seriously.
I didn't feel great about it at the time, and I feel even worse about it now. 4 on the trot. So that leaves me still trailing the 3 CODE Bet crew guys, which is 59 for me, Alex on 62, Liam, the stats guy, over there in the States with only 3 last week. He's out of the cauldron. He's out there watching basketball, and he gets absolutely shellacked.
Shout out to Stats Guy. We texted him half an hour ago. It's 1:45 in New York when I've texted him, and he's replied to the message with his tips, which has me concerned that A, he's coherent enough to reply. 2, he's not working hard enough in New York because he's able to reply to a footy tips message.
I don't know. If you're sitting at a bar half-soused at 1:30 in the morning, you can always put together 7 picks, can't you?
He's got his priorities wrong, I reckon.
He's a professional. I'm just saying. How'd you go on your picks there, Leo, last week?
Tipping-wise, not great, and fantasy-wise, not great either. I think, around maybe 4 in the tipping last week, and fantasy might have been 2 or 3.
I think Butters got over the line for you. That was about it.
Yeah, Butters he's offering great value. I don't think he is this week, though, so I'm going to lay off him in the Port game.
Ooh.
That's somewhat ironic because I'm about to talk about him in the Sunday game. Let's dive right in. Friday night footy. It is another absolute just feast for the eyes.
Oh, it's going to be
you're
painful.
A sadist, if you're going to watch a sadomasochist, if you're going to watch a bit of Carlton, because they are playing probably outside of West Coast the worst football in the league right now. I'm happy to call that. At least GWS give you a little bit of spark here and there. I think there's a lot going on with Hawthorn. They've won 2 on the trot. Carlton have lost 4 straight. They stink. They are 17.5-point underdogs in this game against Melbourne at the G. Friday, the over-under is 162.5. You can actually, that I think with Bet AFL in tomorrow's paper will be 160, which is actually half decent value when it gets to that point. Melbourne are $1.38, Carlton $3.10. You can look at all these prices and all of the lines at codebet.com.au, just under the AFL tab. This is where we're all grabbing it from, and I'll actually list out the very best odds available right then and there. You click through and away you go. So, best player props for this one, very, very simple for me. Petrarca. I think this is one that Alex actually brought up earlier in the week. Petrarca hasn't had a great run of it against Carlton in the past. I think he averages 22 touches a game, right? He has also, however, ripped off 4 straight 30-plus games at the G. So what do you prefer? Do you prefer Petrarca at the G or against I don't know, do you think a Carlton team that basically plays defense like the halftime Oz kickers at the moment, putting about that much defensive pressure on them, watching the ball sail over their heads, running around with their arms up going, Mum, look at me. It's not great. So I think Petrarca to go over 30 is a very easy one, but there's a better same game multi here, Alex, that I think you might like. 25 plus. He's also kicked a goal, Petrarca, I think 4 of the last times he's played Carlton.
Yeah,
and
that was one of my things. He's kicked goals as well, and you can just see him streaking forward and just getting one, or even sneaking into the forward 50 because Patrick Cripps won't run 2 ways.
I'm not going to go the other way. Why would I do that? I've got a hotel to book. The trybooking.com. But the vibe is, and I think I said this maybe on Wednesday's CODE Bet Daily Show, is that I just already have it seared into my brain. Petrarca just on the left wing from about 45 out bombing a massive goal. But if you want to throw in Angus Brayshaw, this is the other key one. He had 27 last week against Freo. Without Clayton Oliver, old Clary, Brayshaw and his helmeted Bonce have stood up pretty nicely. He's only averaging 21 touches a game, but he's been really good basically the last couple of weeks. Give me Brayshaw at the over, I think it's 25 as well. So if you go Petrarca 25, Brayshaw 25, and Petrarca to kick a goal, I think that same game multi actually comes in pretty nicely. And of course, I've lost it.
Way to be a professional, Jim.
That was really good, I thought. The timing of it was awesome, but you can actually read all this in the preview that's already up on site on codebet.com.au. And in terms of that one, that better same game multi combined came in at $3, which I absolutely loved because it combines 3 really good player props in one without going over the top, without going unders. It's just right. There's also a Jack Varney look in there as well that I really like for him. 20 plus, and that was like another one where I'm like, sign me up, sir. Sign me up. Jack Varney, again, also with a goal-kicking sort of bet. We do rate my multi on the Daily Show, and there's a multi at the end of this article where we have Chera 30-plus disposals, Varney 20-plus, Varney anytime goal because he's kicked a goal in 4 straight at the G as well. Akers 25-plus disposals, Van Ruin with an anytime goal. He's kicked a goal in 9 straight games. He is pretty good. Tom McDonald, he's the sneaky one. He's kicked 3+ in 4 straight games against Carlton at the MCG. That's a lot of goals in not many games. I had him with 2+ goals in that one, in that multi. And then Matty Owies. So we don't have Corey Durden on this Blues team this week. He's injured. What do they need? Goals. Who kicks them? Owies. Boom. Between he and Motlop, small forwards for Carlton, that's it. That's the entire list.
Yeah.
So I think Owies, he's gone for 2+ in 4 straight games apart from last week where obviously Carlton kicked a total of 6 goals in that horrible game against the If he'd kicked 2+, we might have had a chance. But either way, that actually got to $86.50, that multi. I was very proud of him. So I actually liked it.
There's some value in that.
There's a point where I'm like, this is getting a little silly. If it's 86, no, and then I'm like breaking it down. I'm like, Chera for 30+. He's done that in 4 of his last 6. Viney, 22. He's averaging that per game. So 20+ seems fairly okay. He was pretty disappointing last week. I think he only got 16 or something. But Viney with the goal. Been ruined with the goal. Akers is averaging 25. Well, he's gone for 25+ and 4 of his last 6 as well. So it sort of comes down to whether or not you think this will be a bit of a slog. And that's kind of where I landed on a bunch of this, right? So the over-under, we've gone the under, the 160.5. And in terms of like the player props, it does feel like there's a lot of value in Melbourne because I just don't trust this horrible Carlton team. Cozzy Pickett as well, 2+ goals is a standalone bet. I enjoyed that. He kicked the game-winning goal last year that
that's right. Yeah,
basically knocked Carlton out of the finals as part of like the domino effect of Carlton missing the finals, which I don't have any problems with still at all. But he has 18 across 9 games this season already. So he's averaging 2 goals a game and had 2 goals last week at the G. Loves the G, does Cozzy. Looks great kicking a goal. $1.70 for the 2. I love that. That was with Ladbroke. So if you want to throw that into a multi as well, I don't know. It feels like there might be not enough space in your multi for Cozzy 2+ as well as McDonald 2+, but
yeah,
see how you go. That forward line from Melbourne sort of does worry you if you want to go with those sort of different goal kickers in terms of player props, especially if you're thinking about that under at like that 162, 64 sort of spot. But I just don't trust Carlton because to get to them, a week of off-field turmoil, gentlemen. They're staying
Multiple weeks.
Yeah, well, exactly. We've got, directors quitting. You've got Michael Voss under pressure. You got Luke Sayers, the president, coming out and going, we're not going to fire Michael Voss. We might fire him pretty soon. It's just very classic Carlton. As a long time, obviously, lifetime Carlton supporter, I've seen this rinse repeat about 8 times in my lifetime, so not great. Yeah. But either way, Cripps needs to stand up. 30-plus disposals for him this week is $2.20, which is actually pretty good value. But then you go, he did tweak his ankle, obviously, against Sydney. Do you think he can get there?
No.
I don't quite see it. So there was a better same-game multi again that I believe we have in tomorrow's paper where he only needed the 25-plus and Sam Doherty needed only 20-plus. And I think you could throw Sam Walsh in there for 25-plus as well. And that got to, I believe, $2.20-something. And that was actually pretty good value, I think, just because Sam Walsh is averaging 30. I love his standalone as $1.60 for 30-plus. Doc, 25-plus standalone is only $1.40 anyway. So, but still, that's that midfield. They need to stand up. They need to do something. The blowtorch has been applied to them. They've got a raft of changes, this Carlton team as well, with Pitnet out with a broken hand. You've got George Hewitt out. You've got, as I mentioned, Durden out. There is,
Nick
Cherry
Newman
got off
as well. He'll be out.
A hammy as well, I believe, or a calf. There's just like these really annoying amount of changes. But to be honest, it might actually spark something in this Carlton team. And if this sort of midfield leadership group that I just talked about, Cripps, Doherty, and Walsh, if they stand up, I do think Carlton have a bit of a chance because Melbourne haven't been wildly inspiring the last 2 weeks. But the big problem is the forwards. Curnow and Mackay, Harry McYips, as we've called him in the article today. 3+ goals.
McSpray.
Harry McSpray more than my 4-year-old trying to, aim at the ball. I'll tell you that. To be honest, the 4-year-old's better at aiming at the ball than Harry Mackay is kicking a footy at goal. Like, what are we doing here? It's ridiculous. But he's $4.20 now with Ladbrokes to go for 3+. He's actually done that in his last 2 against the Demons. And Charlie Curnow, his 3+ price is $1.77, which is actually the best value it's been for weeks. Because last week he literally kicked it into a bloke on the man of the mark from 30 metres out in front?
Yep.
Alex, 30, 35?
20.
Maybe closer, you reckon?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Also, he did have a fantastic game. He just did. That's the one game he hasn't kicked straight this year. He has been in form. So I wouldn't be scared of backing Charlie. I'd be very scared of backing Harry. If I was the coach, I'd go, hey, Harry, you're going to go play ruck. Get the ball and just bomb it. No goals. Just put it in the forward line. It's fine.
So who came up with that idea earlier this week? Was it Lee Matthews or something? It was like, just put Harry Mackay in the ruck as well. It's just Danaher. It's like, all right, cool. We should emulate Joe Danaher and just go for another couple of years of like, oh, God. But obviously my favourite thing every time it comes to Melbourne is the man with immaculate hair, Bailey Fritsch. 2+ goals, easy one, $1.58. He's done that, 3 straight times, but also he's kicked the first goal of the match, I believe, twice in the last 3 games against Carlton.
Yep.
He was $9.50. I've got a lot of time for Bailey. He's kicked the 2+ in 3 straight, but it feels like his kicking's been a little bit wonky this season. But
he's a bit below.
Whatever.
Yeah,
anyway,
sure.
Look, I've already talked heaps about this game, so let's move on already. The tip is Melbourne, I think, 1-39. Carlton have not beaten in the last 8 times they've played a team above them on the ladder. They've lost 1-39. It's a remarkable stat. I think it continues. I think we have Melbourne 1-39 and the under hits as well. I think it's just a bit of another tear your eyes out kind of vibe from Carlton. I hope otherwise, to be honest, because I'd also prefer my Friday night to be vaguely entertaining as opposed to a horrible slog. My picks. All right, how do you feel about this one, Leo, in terms of fantasy? Who are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at Christian Petrarca here. Again, no Oliver this week. He got 116 last week without him. So this week I'm looking at him to get 100+ fantasy points, $1.55 with Ladbrokes. Average is 105 this season, so just has to hit his average. And as you mentioned, you can just sort of see him getting 30 and a goal against this sort of below par Blues team. So I think that's great value. If you even want to go 110+, I reckon that's a good bet too. But just to play it safe, I reckon 100+ is a great bet.
Yeah, they don't really have that midfield stopper at all.
No, definitely not. No,
just not going to happen. So I don't know. So obviously Melbourne's the tip. That was Stats Guy's tip as well. Alex, what are you feeling?
Yeah, tipping Melbourne as well. No shock there. And the over-unders are out for total player disposals. Unfortunately, we haven't got the Paddy Cripps over-under with Bet365. Otherwise, I would have been all over the under. I'm actually keen to take on the under for Sam Doherty, 26.5 at $1.87. Wouldn't be surprised if someone on a half-forward flank for the Dees does play that sort of shutdown role on him. I'm just shocked that you blokes aren't picking Paddy Dow. He averages about 8,000 possessions a week in the VFL at the moment, and no one else can get a kick. Why not pick him, honestly?
Well, this is it. They might pick him, right? So
I've been looking online all day. Apparently, he's not getting picked.
Oh, you're kidding. He has to be.
If he does get picked, any multi you take for the weekend, throw him in for 25 plus, because you'll probably just go, I'm awesome. I'm just going to prove you all wrong at the end of the season. I'm leaving.
I don't know. Having watched Paddy Dow play, it's like, oh, is Paddy Dow out there? Great. Amazing gear.
Yeah.
Right. So there we go. That's a good one for Friday. Saturday, we start off with Port and Hawthorn again. So we do have a couple of these weird sort of lopsided matchups. So this is $1.13 at the moment.
The Hawks are in form. Give them some credit.
The Hawks are playing very good football. That's where I'm going to lean actually on my player props, because there's a couple that really stand out to me. So in the time that I took to write this, it was $1.23 for Port. It's now $1.13.
Oh, wow.
And now Hawthorn is still $6.50. The line is still at 37.5. I actually don't mind Hawthorn at the line in Adelaide. Just I feel like, again, they have that vibe about them to stick with teams. They've done that. I mean, they've won the last 2 weeks, obviously. The over-under is 168.5. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, gentlemen, because, Leo, you're a Hawk supporter. The over-under, Port, in terms of like, teams who have those top four aspirations, they're the ones who sort of don't quite have just the absolute blow you out of the water offense. They've got much more of the
their forwards are injured at the moment as well.
Exactly, right? So it's been kind of that weird one where if you look at the points for all season for Port, it's just that little bit further down the sort of offensive rankings than a lot of the points. Yeah, so when you say fifth, they're 89.8, and it's like those top echelon ones are all like above 95, 96 and stuff. So there's like a bit of a gap. So where you have like everybody else bunched in that sort of 80 to 89 range. So that's the one sort of thing I'm looking at. Obviously, points per game for Hawthorn, not great, Leo, 70. So
yeah, terrible.
You actually literally add up 89 and 70.
They've literally scored 2 points less this season than Carlton, so they're not going too badly.
Yeah, Carlton are not great though. Let's be honest. So I don't know how we feel about this one, but my player props were literally just going to be Connor Nash and Will Day. So a lot of this is to do with just the simple idea of they're awesome. Like playing really well. Will Day, 25 plus disposals. Connor Nash, 25 plus from my go-tos here. Day's averaging 26 a game. He's been unreal, and he's hit that in 5 of his last 6. Nash has been unreal as well, 26 plus in 7 straight. So just those young midfield guns for Hawthorn were where I'm going to stick at. And Mitch Lewis, 3+ goals. What's he done the last couple of weeks?
He's kicked
9. So he's averaging 2.6 across the season and looks really good. And I think against Port,
he kicked 5 against them last year.
Exactly my point. He, round 2 last year, he had 5. Mitch Lewis looks really good. I really like this. And of course, with the Port guys, you just go Butters and you go Rosie, and then you go Wines 20 plus and you pack her up, boys. So the 25 plus 20 for the Port midfield is a really fun same game multi each week, because I think I've been writing about Port of late pretty substantially. So, and I think that's hit the last couple easy. And then there was another week where I think Wines just let me down on a 25 plus. So you could probably do the same, obviously, with Hawthorn and go the 25 plus for Day, Nash, and 3+ goals for Mitch Lewis. They're my best plays there. So how are we feeling about this one, Leo, in terms of fantasy? Have I just stepped on one of your players again?
Yeah, you touched on Rosie just briefly. He's $1.82 for 100 plus fantasy points. Does average 98 this season, but a 3-round average of 100. So he's sort of hitting that form at the right time and playing, a bottom 4 side. I think this is a big game from Rosie. I think Butters has sort of taken the limelight off him, and I reckon he might want to get one back up on him and have a big game.
That's a good one. He's like, I love watching Port. Like,
they're great to watch
because they don't scream excitement, but when you watch them, you're like, this is just good football, just good footy. Footy. So I don't know. The simple one for this is, look, best of luck to you, Hawthorn. I feel like the line for the Hawks isn't too bad of a bet, because I think we've got, in terms of, they've obviously won the last couple. There's a weird one where I think 7 straight interstate games for the Hawks have also gone under. So I feel like they might be able to drag this one into the mud a little bit and have a crack. And against the line, though, they're 2-4 4, I think the Hawks are away from home, but they're 5-6 overall. So there's a little bit of a what is that? A 6-goal advantage they're getting. So I kind of feel like they feel to me like North, where if you give them a little bit of space and give them a chance, they'll just sort of stick around. But it does feel a bit weird at Adelaide. I don't know how you feel about that line there, Alex. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a blowaway game just because the Hawks are sort of up and about at the moment, and you're just watching Port the last few weeks. They're scrapping to their wins. They're getting the job done, which is all that matters, and it feels like it's a scrappy win. If this was in Melbourne, you'd be smidge concerned, but here it's just like, yeah, okay, they'll do enough. This is like 4 or 5 goals, never in doubt, but, Hawthorn are going well, and that's sort of how you walk away from the game going, yeah, Butters is good, yeah. Nothing really excites me about this game, especially at $1.12.
95-65 is how I see this. It just screams to you like that, but that would also hit that under. So the tips, Port, obviously, Stats Guy's going Port. Alex.
Yep, Port.
How do you feel about this, Leo, against your beloved Hawks?
Yeah, Port. I think also the thing to mention is no Sicily for the Hawks. So I think
that's right. He had the best game ever and decided to elbow someone in the face.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be huge, especially if Dixon and Marshall do come back into the team as well.
Well, really good the interesting news out of this, I suppose, is Ken Hinckley sending Tom Jonas, who's the captain, back to the SANFL for a week. He's like, mate, you're in terrible form. See ya.
Mate, so is he being dropped?
He's dropping him, yeah. That's what came out this morning.
Not bad.
All right, next game. This is yours, Alex. West Coast versus Collingwood. I think we can speed through this one.
Right, yeah. $15 for the Eagles. Collingwood $1.03. The Lions 57.5. The over/under is 171.5. What's wild is you just look at it. West Coast have lost their last 9 by 40 plus. Awesome, but then you're like, West Coast beat Collingwood last time these two met last year in the COVID Bowl. West Coast have won 7 of the last 10. Between these two. I was like, that just is not right. The last 4 Eagles games have gone under. You look at this season, Collingwood are averaging 92 points a game. West Coast average 62. This just screams under. It just like it's 171.5. You see Collingwood kicking, 120, 130, but it's like, 120 to 40. West Coast never really sort of get much of a chance. Oscar Allen 2+ is the play. Darcy Moore is apparently sick, so he might not play. We'll see later tonight. This is the best thing about doing a show at 4:30 on a Thursday before selections.
Drop, so yeah.
Big Oscar Allen, $1.46 for 2+. Love that. But what I was going to lean on for a player prop, you can do your day costers and all that. But Jordan De Goey is going awesome this season, underratedly because of how good everyone else is going. Averages 25.5 touches a game. Yeah, 35 and a goal last week. 30+ is $2.60. And 2 goals, just him streaming forward like Petrarca, $2.60. And then I'm looking at Brody Myercheck. He's got 3+ in 6 of 11 this year. And in 9 of 11, he's got 2 or more. So if you want him to kick 2 or more, it's $2.10. But let's go a bit larger, 4+ at $3.75. We don't need to spend too much time on this game. Collingwood are going to win it well. But I feel like it's sort of like a 60, 70-point win. But you're never going to be sure till late, so I wouldn't charge into the line. I think Collingwood in the under is the play.
Really? You trust West Coast to actually keep up with them and just...
No, when you'll see in my article, I've sort of said Collingwood are going good, but they're not going great at the moment. They're just doing what they need to do to win. And when you sort of break all the stats and all the numbers down, then, they're going to be 11-1 after this week unless something miraculous happens. They're not going that good, but they're still winning.
Sure. I just love the way that they're playing. There's just such a spread across everything that they do. And, I feel like the Oscar Allen play is always basically it's Oscar Allen 2+ is what we should have T-shirts for that.
Yeah, Gerald, please put that in for our next merch order.
It's like, what is it, Manly 13+?
Yeah.
Oscar Allen 2+, simple as that. Leo, what's your fantasy look on this one?
Yeah, I'm having a look at Josh Dacos in this game for 90+ fantasy points, which is $1.58.
AKA the crummy one.
The crummy one, yeah. $1.58 with Ladbrokes, that is. Averages 95 this season. But I think playing a low West Coast team, you could even go for 100+ here, which is $2.35 with Ladbrokes. He's a high possession winner. Sort of plays that wing role. I think he's played a bit more on ball recently too, so he'll get great exposure to the ball, and he always kicks a goal. I think he kicked 3 last week against North, so I wouldn't be surprised if he hits 100+ here.
That's a good one. I like that he's the crummy one. It's like he's just dominant. He'd be like an absolute superstar if his like little brother wasn't better than him.
But also, just so on that margin one I was talking about, obviously Collingwood blew out Port Adelaide in round 2. But since then, they smashed the Giants by 65 on Mother's Day, where the Giants rolled over in the last quarter. But sort of since they got out of jail against Essendon on Anzac Day, where they won by 13 points. They beat Adelaide by a point. They beat Sydney by 29. They beat Carlton by 28, and they only beat North Melbourne by 35 last week. So they're playing inferior opposition, but they're not just blowing them away like we think they are. It's just they're doing enough to win, but like we saw last week, North Melbourne kicked 6 goals in the last quarter. So it's just like, all right, you'll win, but let's pay attention to this because a shock may come in the next month.
I do feel like, it's an interesting sort of balance, right? Of Collingwood so good, and they've already won so many games that they probably don't have to really stress about percentages.
It's winning 5 more games to assure yourself minimum top 4, possibly top 2. Like, it doesn't matter. If you're top 2, you've got 2 home finals.
Yeah. So I think, look, I feel like the way that they spread this around, especially somewhere like out at West Coast, you're on the road. It might be a bit of a tricky one to go against that line, but I still feel like they can really put up a score. So, and defensively, they're just so tough compared to like other teams.
Yeah.
So, anyway, the tips are Collingwood, and Alex.
Collingwood.
Leo, you feeling
Collingwood? Yeah, Collingwood.
All right, Dogs, Geelong. It's the eternal battle. Cats versus Dogs. $1.63 for the Dogs. The Cats are $2.30. The line's only 7.5, and the over/under is at 165.5. Fascinating game because you think about where both of these teams are. Geelong just look a bit stinky. They're just beset with injuries. The Dogs go up to the Northern Territory last week and lose to the Suns after a big win in Ballarat. It's a weird sort of set of circumstances, and it's still strange to see Geelong not favoured. And you go, well, it's at Marvel. And then you go, hang on a second. Are Geelong any good at Marvel? And you go, well, actually they are 29-9 over the last 10 years. So, well, actually, I think that might be since 2010. But the thing is, you then break that down a little bit more. They're only 3-2 in the last 5 seasons at Marvel. So, bit strange, bit weird. But, going back to 2010, they're 29-9, which is absolutely unreal. I have like one of these weird ones where you go, this is the one game of the year we go, this could easily be a draw. Just saying. I'm just keeping an eye on that one. Otherwise, you've got Jack McRae is the obvious one with the 25 disposals. He's done that 19 straight times when they've been favourites. Tom Hawkins doesn't mind kicking goals in Marvel as well. He's done that he's gone for 2+ in 13 straight. 13 straight at Marvel, which is just ridiculous. But this is the thing. Do the Cats have enough to sort of punch up and beat a team above them on the ladder at the moment? That's what they usually do. I think the stat there was something like they've won their last 12 against teams that are above them on the ladder, which is, again, a remarkable stat. But this is Geelong, who rattled off 274 straight wins last year. So
felt like that watching the grand final.
Not a bad team. So McRae was always going to be my play with the disposals. As I said, 19 straight is a favourite. He's always good. And we've got Brownlow Bont. 25+, I believe, in his last 4 straight as well. So there's just sort of enough there where the Dogs look dangerous. They've got the big bodies in the midfield. They've got the gatherers. Treloar's still out, but I don't know. I wanted to go the Cats. I still feel like the Cats, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Dogs win this. I still feel like the draw's in play here, gentlemen. I'm just saying the draw's not bad. So my feel in this is that Geelong at the line, and Geelong maybe to win it in an absolute heartbreaker. So the +7.5 probably is my favourite bet of this game. And the over-under. Wanted to get your read on this one, Alex, because in terms of Geelong's scoring prowess and in terms of the way that the Dogs score, like I know that you've got a bugbear about the way that the Dogs go about their offensive business.
Yep.
So it's a bit of a tricky one, right? Like, what are the Dogs averaging at the moment this season?
It's bang on 78.
So not a great average, whereas Geelong are at 99.2 points per game.
That's because they kicked like 170 points against Hawthorn and Sydney.
Exactly. So they've put the beat down on a couple of teams. I just feel like Geelong just still have like a little bit of chutzpah about them. I think Big Jezza Cameron might have that one game where he goes, I've been bad the last month. Sorry about that, but I got me medal back from the cow, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself now. That's how I'm trained. I've just been chasing that cow around the paddock, and off he goes and has like 8 goals under the roof there at Marvel. I just feel like Geelong's firepower just might get them across the board. So it's a tricky one though, right? This is hard. Without danger probably for another week. The entire talk this week was like, oh, he might be right. He reckons he's right. I just don't think they'd bother playing with the bye next week. So it's going to be a tricky situation. I think Geelong, though, can just get their noses over the line.
Well, my thing is their last 3 weeks, they've scored less than 80 points and they've been rolled in all of the games. Yeah. Like the usual rule is you kick 100 points, you're going to win a game of football. In their wins this year, it's been, 127, 136, 130, 132, 98. That's how much they've kicked when they've won. It's hard to back a team into form. I hate the Western Bulldogs. I'm on record with saying it. I don't think they're any good. But this feels like when the Bulldogs beat the Brisbane Lions earlier this year, it's like 70-50, and you're like, this is the worst thing I've ever watched. Sure. I don't know what Jeremy Cameron's doing. Maybe play him on the wing, get him up the field. He's got to get into the game. He was sort of nowhere last week. Leave Hawkins one out. I can't trust either team, but I think this is an under. I think it's an under because somehow Marvel, despite it being the best conditions for football ever, produces some god-awful football.
So their last 10 games at Marvel for Geelong, 83-70 over the Dogs last year.
Yep.
So that's like right there with your under, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's under 166.5. Before that, they lost by 10 to St Kilda, 90-80, 68-47 in 2021 there. It is pretty brutal, man. So 71-55 against the Dogs back in 2019.
Yeah.
The 104-80 win in 2019 over North. 103-101 where Geelong lost to the Dogs. So the Dogs have beaten 2 of them last 3 times there at Marvel. So pretty interesting, pretty weird. I was at a game there where Geelong just smashed Carlton. This is many years ago now. And you just have that sort of weird, like it's just a weird situation. I'm just not used to seeing Geelong play Marvel like ever. Like it's just always going to strike me as very strange. So anyway, Leo, what's your fantasy play on this one, mate?
Yeah, I'm having a look at Jackson McRae for 100-plus fantasy points, which is $2.15 with Ladbrokes. He averages 97, but he's hit some form the past couple of games. He averages 107 the past 3 rounds. And I just think, as you touched on, Geelong's sort of injuries to that midfield, I think it's an area not only he, but a lot of the other Dogs midfielders can exploit. So I just think this is one of those games where he's good on the inside, good on the outside, and might even kick a goal. So I think, he's got a strong game ahead here, Jackson McRae.
Nice one. And this is, I think, Cameron has 3+ in, is it 9 straight away games, I think, for the Cats as well. So it's going to be fascinating. 7 in the last 9. There you go.
Yeah, because I was about to say he didn't do it at Freo.
Yeah. So that's like one of those weird ones you go, do you trust him at Marvel? I kind of feel like you should. So might be worth digging into seeing if he goes big. Just to know about it, though. The delivery, the way they got beaten down at GMHBA last week was a bit of a worry.
But watching it was like, Geelong are going to come back and win this. You always felt like they were going to somehow sneak home, but then they didn't.
They do have those random stinkers at home against those random teams like GWS, though, right? So it's a weird one. Right, Gold Coast, Adelaide. The tips, actually, sorry. Yeah. The tip, I'm actually taking Geelong, as I said. I'll take them at the line. I'll take them head-to-head as well. I think Stats Guy's gone the Dogs and Alex.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for punishment, Bulldogs.
All right. What do you reckon, Leo? How are you feeling about this one?
I'm going to lean towards the Dogs on this one. I think it's going to be a real defensive type game.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried about that sort of. I've looked at it. It's gross.
I'll be watching the other game that we're about to preview.
Gold Coast Adelaide in the NT. I'll see you in the NT. Right, let's go. I think Alex, you did this one.
Literally just finished writing this before we've come on. The market's like, we don't know. Gold Coast $1.88. Adelaide $1.97, but if you have a look through there on the lines, you can get plus lines for both teams. You get plus 2.5 for the Suns and plus 1.5 for the Crows. Top Sport and Bet 365 are your way to go for those. Interesting. Adelaide have won 14 of 16 against Gold Coast, even though Gold Coast won last year, and that was in the Gold Coast. Gold Coast have won 3 straight up in Darwin, and Ben King has 3+ in his last 2 against the Crows. Now, having a dig into this and sort of looking in there, and it's like, you think Gold Coast, you're like, you guys just don't kick enough points to win. And then you have a look sort of through 4 of their 5 wins this season. They've kicked 80 plus. One of those was the 100 plus against West Coast, so it kind of doesn't count. But last week they eked out that 80, and that just hits me at the Gold Coast to get 80 or more points. Well, it's 81 points or more at $1.90 with Ladbrokes. That's sort of right on their average for the season. I'm like, oh, I like that, because if they win, they usually kick over 80 points. And then sort of digging deep, because Adelaide, they're very confusing, because I tipped them confidently against the Bulldogs. They got smashed. Brisbane will go there and beat them, and then they ran all over Brisbane. So this season, this is in the full article that you'll read, which will be up on CODE Bet, I assume, tomorrow. Adelaide at the Oval in 7 games this season, 5-2. They should be 6-1, that Collingwood loss. But they've scored 696 points at 99.3 points a game. Away from that, so anywhere else, they've played 4 games. They're 1-3 for 281 points, and they average 70.25 a game. So bang on a 5-goal worse off team outside of Adelaide, which just screams unders, especially in the sweaty dust, not the sweaty dust bowl, but it'll just be the humidity, the boys rolling around all in their blood. They've all got, wristbands on for the sweat and everything else. It's just sticky and just gross. The unders are 160.5. I was pretty keen on that. Just thinking Adelaide away from home, way worse. Gold Coast are used to the conditions at least. So this sort of screams like an 85 to 65 game. It's like, well, we're hitting the under nice and easy there. I'm looking towards Ben King to play well once again. 3+ goals at $2.35. He's got 27 this year. But you look at his last 4 weeks, he's been inaccurate because he's kicked 9 goals, 7. And prior to that, he had 18-3 to start the season. So he needs to get the radar back on, and I'm looking at him to kick 5 at $11. Really keen on him to sort of dominate this game and sort of be like, yeah, no, this is me. I'm going to put this team on my back and take him towards the finals. And Jack Lukosius. I love me some Jack Lukosius. 5 goals last week. When he is on, he is bloody fantastic. 2 goals at $1.96 and 20-plus possessions at $4.33 at Bet365. In the article, you'll see I've thrown in some tips for Tex Walker and Rankine to kick goals, but I'm finding it very hard to charge into any of the Crows given how pathetic they were the last time they played at a non-traditional away venue, aka Ballarat. So I'm really avoiding sort of going, yeah, I think this will happen when I have absolutely no confidence in it whatsoever.
Nice. That checks out. How are you feeling about the fantasy look out here, Leo? What do you got?
Yeah, I found it a bit hard to find some value in this one, but I'm looking at Matt Rowell for 90-plus fantasy points. It's only $1.48 with Ladbrokes, but he was really dominant last week against the Dogs, probably one of his best games to date. Just in great form. Averages 98 this year, so if you do want to stretch it to the 100-plus, it's $2.15 with Ladbrokes. Just feel like the 90-plus is a bit safer considering he does have those games where he'll probably have like 15 touches and 8 tackles and only like 75 fantasy points or something like that. So, just thought I'd play it a bit safer with this one. But, yeah, he's been in great form, so I like him with that bet.
Nice one. Was it Rowell that kicked that really nice snap around the goal from the boundary last week, I think?
It might have been. I don't know if it was from the boundary, but I think, it was a nice snap on the left, I think.
Yeah. I do have a bit of – not just because he's a ginger, Matt Rowell, but, just plays pretty nice brand of footy.
It's because he eats grass.
It's weird. Lukosius, you're right about that, Alex. He is an excitement machine. He is awesome. Ben King, I could really use him to fire. I still have him like in my 6th spot on my super coach, just saying. But Adelaide is my pick for this one. I think it's Stats Guys as well. I've sort of gone back and forth on it because I've got a bit of time for this Adelaide team, but it's mostly because when they're at home, they look unreal. Every time they go anywhere else, they sort of stink it up. So you just got to hope that maybe they give it a shot when they're up there in the NC and it doesn't feel too different and they actually, rock up. Because when they're up and about, they're really up and about. Last week against Brisbane, they were amazing. So I'm going to have to go with the Adelaide Crows. Alex, I think you're going different.
Gold Coast, let's go.
Interesting. What was that line? 2.5. That's right.
Yeah, or you can get 1.5. But in the article, which will end up on the website, you'll see I've tipped plus 2.5. So I'm like, it's 1 cent less, yet we're getting a 2.5 point start. So why not?
Why not? How do you feel about this one, Leo?
I think I'm going to back in the Crows. It does worry me their form outside of Adelaide, but they should have enough offensive power to knock over the Suns, I think.
Yep. Tex, Darcy Fogarty, just
Rankine,
like
Bruce Shelley.
Yeah.
He was flying last week too. Anyway, all right, Sunday's games. There's two more. We've only got the 7 this week. GWS versus Richmond. This was another Alex game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so GWS favourites at $1.85. The line's 2.5. Richmond $2.06. The over/under is 164.5. Of note, the home team has won the last 14 games between these two, which seems absolutely wild to me. For over/under plays, the last 8 Richmond games interstate have gone over the total. And sort of just looking at it, it feels like a scramble over. It's like it's 82 to 85 in the end, and you're just like, oh yeah, we got over just, and we had to sweat it out the whole way. Having a look at sort of players that can sort of help us get towards that over. Jesse Hogan probably had his best game ever last week, and that's the thing for me with the Giants is can they back up a performance like that? Ever since that grand final run they had, it's like, yeah, we're awesome. No, we're not. It's the inconsistency has killed them. This is a team that needs to come out again this week and win after winning against Geelong and Geelong. Harry Himmelberg comes back from concussion. Jesse Hogan, as I said, he had 10 marks and 4 score involvements last week. He just didn't hit the scoreboard, but that's literally the only thing he didn't do. The man who did, though, is probably one of the best players in the comp, but because he's in Sydney and everyone hates him, no one talks about him because he's a prick, and that's Toby Green. He was absolutely awesome last week. In the 4 wins that the Giants have had this season, he's kicked 15 goals and had 84 disposals. So going really well, obviously. So that's averaging just over 20. 20 plus is $2.30 for him. 3 goals, $2.25. 4 plus is $4.25 because it's like, who matches up on him? Because he's not tall enough for like a bolter. He's too quick for a broad. It's like, what do you do? He's just such a hard matchup to do. And then for the Richmond side of things, Tim Taranto's kicking efficiency was pretty good last week. Kane kicked 4 goals. Looked pretty good, and he had 30 plus there. Let's look at him again to get 30 plus at $1.64. I'll be honest, I'm pretty keen on the Giants. I think this is a massive emotional dump, an adrenaline dump for Richmond after last week with all the Dimmer Hardweek stuff. They threw everything at Port and still couldn't win, whereas the Giants could be up and about after a win like that last week. -2.5, really keen.
I just think Richmond are just going right. That sucked last week. Let's give it a crack this week, boys. And they smash the team that they smashed in a grand final.
But where does it come from, though? Like, they've been crap all year, Richmond. Like,
I think there's more of that sort of, I don't know, even more dusty. I feel like he's like just, he has these flashes where like, that's the dusty I know, and then he's gone again.
Yeah.
Someone like GWS, you go, well, this is the time where he has that bag of 4 goals.
We've been talking about it, yeah.
Smashing. And I don't know, like, you do worry about their forward line without Tom Lynch, obviously, but oof, I just feel like Richmond have still got enough in the tank to win this one. Leo, who's your fantasy play in this?
Yeah, well, you mentioned him, Alex. I'm looking at the 151st ranked player in the competition, Tim Taranto. I'm looking at him to get 120 plus fantasy points. 120 plus fantasy points, which is $2.10 with Ladbrokes. He averages 121 this season. He hasn't dropped below 120 in his last 3 weeks. And up against his old side, I think he'll want to make a statement and sort of show them what they're missing out on. So, Taranto to go big's my call.
I could also really use Lockie Whitfield to go off because
he was awesome last week. And I said that in the previews, like he needs to go big again.
Yeah, I snuck him into my Supercoach team, I think, just before last week, and I'm like, I'm a genius. And then I'm like, I really hope I've made a good decision. He sticks around. My tip in this one is Richmond. I think Statsco's gone GWS, and so have you, Alex?
Pretty keen on GWS, yeah.
Yep, obviously. All right, and the last game of the week, Essendon the Bombers against the Roos. Brad Scott against his old team.
Yay.
I feel like that's not a overplayed storyline yet at all.
Is this a U game or what game's Marcus doing?
This is a Marcus game. So $1.18 for Essendon, north of $5.25. The line's 31.5. 6-goal lead for Essendon. I don't know how you feel about this, Alex, but doesn't this just scream the weird game that Essendon drop again against North? And you're like, oh my God, what are Essendon doing?
Well, that's what I said last week about West Coast, and they still won by 50 points, but it wasn't impressive.
Actual talent, though, I feel.
I feel like this is the sphincter tighten again. We're like, oh, we might lose this. Oh, God, we might. Oh, no, we've won by 2 goals, but oh, God, that was stressful.
So the ones that stick out to me, so Marcus is covering this one for the website, but there's the obvious ones where I think it's 5 straight games that Essendon and North have played where the total has hit over. So it's 175 at the moment. And both these teams we've seen North hang with like far better teams and be able to put up scores. So I think that over is just an absolute let's go. And Zeret, I've been on this. I think I wrote up Zeret the week after he got rubbed out he missed the Anzac Day clash, right? So he comes back, and ever since then he's been on an absolute tear, which you love to see. So he's gone for 31 plus in 7 straight against North at Marvel, and I think he continues that as well. So 30 plus for Zeret is an absolute go for me. And Dylan Shield, when he actually gets out there, it'd be nice to see him actually play the game. I think he was named last week and then was a laid out, and I think that happened the week prior as well. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on with Dylan Shield, but he keeps popping up in my multis and then they keep getting voided. So thanks a lot, Dylan. You're doing the Lord's work, I'll tell you that much, because I don't think some of those would have hit. So anyway, 25 plus in 5 straight up Marvel for him as well. So if he actually gets out there, but Redmond's been the one that stood up in his absence. Yeah. I think he's gone for 27 for 3 straight now too. He's been really good. I don't know how you feel about Wiedemann as well there, Alex, but I do have a fair amount of Bombers fans in my life, and Wiedemann has been like this handy sort of like, hang on a second, I didn't realize he was that good. And they have those moments go, he's really big. We need that. We don't have 2 meter Peter. What is going on? So they kind of love themselves a bit of Wiedemann.
It is funny, I'll be honest.
I just don't know how I feel about him just going off against this North team that is sneaky okay. Like, they're not an absolute dumpster fire. Like they're kind of fun to watch versus, like, as opposed to Carlton, who have like probably substantially more talent across the park.
Yeah.
At least not try. And they're in these games all of the time. So for me, the North ones, it's the Cheezel. The Cheezel, he's gone for 25 plus, the Rook in 4 of his last 5 at Marvel. And it's obviously the Suva as well. The Suva, he's gone for 4 plus against teams that are in the top 8. Last 2 times he's done it. He looked like he's just, clunking everything at times. And then I think, was it against Sydney? He was like way off the boil. And you're like, what is going on? And then he turned around last week and was really good. So
5 goals, 2 last week.
I love the Suva for another 3 plus or 4 plus, however you feel like he's going to sit. I feel like, though, against Essendon and that back line, where they do have like a lot of those mid-size sort of players as well, I feel like the Suva could take a few big clunkers and probably go for 4 plus. So I feel pretty good about that. But I feel like just overall, it does really just scream at me north of the line, the plus 31.5. I think they just make Essendon really work hard for this. Essendon might win it, but I would not be surprised if there's a big upset. So I like the over. I like the Roos of the line plus 31.5. Brett Ratton maybe gets his first win as a Roos coach. So off we go. How are you feeling about this one, Alex?
I think Suva to kick 4 goals is a pretty decent bet. He's done it in his last couple of games where they've played teams in the top 8. $3.60 for that. He's going to be one out. He's going to see a lot of the ball because at least North Melbourne are like, we're going to take the game on. If we get caught, we get caught. Who cares? They're exciting to watch. I told you that game last week was going to be enjoyable. It was a lot of fun, and it wasn't a little lamb getting slaughtered or kids getting hurt on Instagram, which is one of the all-time follows. If you have that, it is funny. But yeah, that, and then also
your algorithms are all over the shop.
And then also I've had my missus sending me TikToks about what my beige flags are. So it's all that crap at the moment. It's ridiculous.
Pack her up, boys.
Yeah. My beige flag is I'll have road rage and then be like, should we go get something to eat like 3 seconds later?
You being a goldfish is your beige flag. I like it. Nice. All right, Leo, have you got a fantasy bet for us in this one?
Yeah, I've actually got 2 for you. I'm looking at Mason Redmond, 90 plus fantasy points, which is $1.78. So he scored 3 tons in a row, averages 92. And he loves playing lower sides, loves to exploit them with his run and dash. So I think he's in for another big game. And also looking at Bailey Scott to score 80-plus fantasy points, which is $1.50. He's scored back-to-back tons.
He had about 1,000 against the Swans.
Yeah, I think he's in career best form at the moment, sort of going at 30 and a goal a game, I think. So I reckon he'll score big under the roof again on Sunday Arvo.
That's a good one. I like that a lot. That's a really good call-out because I did want to mention him. But look, this is also Marcus's game. It's not quite up not ready for the site yet, but that'll be up and it'll be the way we close out round 12 of the AFL. Crazy. All right, best bets for this week. How are we feeling about it? Harry McFive. They've taken him off the board. You can no longer get Harry McFive. I'm a bit worried about that, but not really that worried. So 4+. Harry McFour. Come on, Harry. $10.50 for 4+ this week. I was a bit upset when I saw the Harry McFive just isn't there anymore. And there you go. But if you want to go Kerr 5 Owl,
Sure.
that's at $5. So that's $1 a goal, basically. I just don't trust either of those big forwards to get past that 3-goal mark against that Melbourne backline. So, but my actual favourite one was actually in that same game. Petrarca, 25+ disposals and a goal, and Brayshaw, the 25+. That was $2.70. And then up to $3, I think, when we checked it again later today. So I love that one. I just feel like Petrarca, Brayshaw, there's just such little sort of fight in that Carlton midfield that I think they go pretty hammer and tongs on them and run away with it. What about you, Alex? Favourite?
Pretty keen on Gold Coast Suns to score 80.5 points or more, that $1.90. Really keen on that. I'm keen on them to win, so I think they'll do that. And then the Ben King 3+ goals at $2.35. It's sort of a tricky weekend, so not going to delve too deep into it until we sort of come out of the bye, I guess.
Yep. And if I was going to do that, those two little sort of separate multis that I mentioned for the Port and Hawthorn game, is just like, if you can have side-by-side multis, I'd rather not combine them because it might just get a bit squirrely. But I kind of like it, just the simple idea of what Day and Nash and Lewis. So Day and Nash, 25+ each, and the 3+ for Mitch Lewis. And then on the other side, Port, it was Butters, Rosie, 25+, and then Wines over 20. The Wines thing brings it down because I feel like he's always weirdly priced to go over 25. It's like, he's a Brownlow winner. But it's like, yeah, he's been underperforming for the last, 18 months. But he's really hit a nice stretch of form in the last 4 weeks. And I really like Wines to go over the 20. So I'd have those two as sort of little extra multis that I'd sort of throw out there. Have you got a favourite out of all your best bets there, Leo?
Favourite, I reckon either Dacos for 90+ or McRae for 100+. I think they're in for big weeks.
I love the Dacos one as well, just because it's the other one. The other one. All right, that's it. CODE Bet Daily Weekly AFL Show done for one more week. It does feel weird. It feels like this 1 week with the only the 7 games, it does feel a lot more dependent on teams being named than we have prior.
Yeah.
This week, we've sort of hit like a part of the season where you've got a lot of injuries sort of floating around. You've got some big questions about team inclusions and whatnot, but still lots of good value floating around. So we'll be back on deck next week. I believe we have Leo for one more of these, which would be fun, which is gnarly. Might even get Marcus in, who knows, and do his game. Either way, get right around the show, subscribe, like, and star it. And you can, I believe, subscribe to this one separately on Spotify as well. As part of the, it's in the Daily Show feed, but of course, you can listen to it separately on Spotify if you want. Like, review, star it across everything as well. Check out the CODE Bet socials, YouTube, Facey, IG, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch. Make Leo earn a crust over there, sitting around, not doing much at all at the moment.
Got to pay for those haircuts somehow.
Exactly. He's getting $200 haircuts he is. Anyway, he looks $1 million, but it's a good investment. Anyway, thanks, Leo.
Thank you, James. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
I'm off for a nap.
I guess you earned it. Thanks always to Gerald for producing this here schmozzle. Does a great job, does Gerald. And thanks to me for trying to pull it all together. A very late notice kind of vibe today because we also had to check tomorrow's paper page and it got very squirrely right at the end. Either way, what do we say, Alex?
Gamble responsibly.
Nice one. Or may all your picks come in. Footy's back and happy punting. We'll catch you next week. CODE Bet Daily Weekly AFL. Out.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.